Welcome back. It's a huge honor for me today to have Jasmit on today. He is probably one of the most esteemed athletes that I know of, that I've had the pleasure of having the company of, and following his Instagram is always a source of inspiration for me because he's not just an elite athlete, but just his character it all comes through in his posts as well. So, without further ado, Jasmit, if you want to just introduce yourself, give us a bit of information about you, and then we can crack on with the interview.
Awesome. First of all, I want to thank you for having me. My name is Jasmit Singh Phulka. I'm currently 27 years old. I'm on the Canadian national team. I've been wrestling since I was 10 years old, so I've been wrestling for 17 years. I love it, and I'm fell short of the 2021 Olympic Games this year, but I'm looking forward to representing Canada at the 2024 and the 2028 Olympic Games.
Amazing. Okay, so let's go right into it. Wrestling such a graft. You could be doing a lot of things like soccer or something easier. Why wrestling? Like why not?
I think so. Like my brother was in middle school, and like he kind of just went to like this. He saw like a flyer for wrestling, and he kind of just like I came home to my dad and was like, hey, I kind of want to try it. Then after that, I've been involved with it like ever since. But like growing up, like my great grandpa was like really into like sports and all that stuff, and like my grandpa was a really good kabaddi player, and like then my dad was a really good kabaddi player and did a lot of weightlifting. So like athletics was always in my family. And then like my cousin came here and he was like a provincial champion for shot put and discus. But then when we started wrestling, it was kind of different because I always thought maybe I'll go into athletics. I'm seeing my older cousin, and then we started wrestling because my brother saw that flyer. Like we had no wrestling history prior, but now I look at it like I think wrestling's been in my family for generations of generations. But growing up, I had nothing. But like I think when I started wrestling though, like I hated it. Like I used to cry like every day. Like I didn't want to go. But I think the reason I stuck with wrestling and why I love wrestling so much was, other than soccer and basketball and things, was because I think he saw your success fast. Like I went to practice the first day and like I was getting taken down. And I was like I hated it. Like I said, I was crying. But like 1 month of hard work, and I used to just do like like this, like push-ups, squats, just normal stuff. But that 1 month of doing that and just going for runs by myself, like I was in grade 5, grade 4, like but like obviously I wasn't running far, but just doing like a little bit, just mentally. We had practice on Tuesday, but Wednesday my dad took us to the track. Just I thought I was doing so much. In 1 month I beat the guys that beat me on my first day, and I found love with it since then, because then it showed me like I can achieve what I want to achieve. And at that age, like realizing that was real big for me, because sometimes when you're in soccer and basketball, like the whole team's got to perform, right? I love wrestling just because I don't have to rely on anybody else but myself. And the best part of it is like when I lose, I know who to blame. It's me. I can't point the finger at anyone else. So it really, the one thing I love about it is it really challenges you mentally, because every time you go and compete, you get to learn something about yourself. You can't lie to yourself. Sometimes in team sports, you can lie to yourself. You can blame it on someone else, or you can say that I did everything really well, but my teammate just wasn't, or this. But win or lose, I know why I lost and I know why I won, because there's no one else to blame.
Wow. Yeah. So if we can unpack that a bit, because with some of the refereeing I've seen, it's been like atrocious in wrestling.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then the other thing, because I was on the medical team for London 2012, and what I noticed about wrestling and judo was, you can make one mistake, and that's kind of it. Like with football, I feel like with soccer, you can come back from a mistake, and there's time. But with wrestling, just one.
Yeah.
How do you? It's it feels like a tough sport.
Yeah, it's like even like going back to my Olympic qualifier at the Pan Ams for my so I took bronze. I needed to come top 2. I lost to a world silver medalist from Puerto Rico, and like I looked at the video and I still look at it some days, and like I clearly took him to his back. It should have been 4 points. If I had those 4 points, I would have been qualified for the Olympic Games right now. But the refs only gave me 2 points, and we challenged it, and I lost the challenge, and I lost that match because of that. Like, and there's a lot of things I think you can look at it like, you know what, I should have went, you know, I should have won. But then I think wrestling really challenges you mentally and makes you a better, bigger and better person, just because instead of sitting there and thinking, man, like I got screwed over, it makes me think, well, yeah, like you didn't get those 2 points, but he still scored 6, 7 points on you. You know, like I still have room to get better. Like if I was better than him, I wouldn't have left her in that referee's hand. So if I put in the referee's hand, there's still room for me to get better as a wrestler. Obviously, you know, at the time it hurts, but I think when you think about it, the landscape of things, like if I want to be an Olympic champion, I got to beat the referees. You look at any legend, or you look at any athlete across any board that's been at the top for a long time. You got to beat the referee. You got to beat the crowd. You got to do all that, you know, because at the highest level, that's how it is. You know, you think, you know, like wrestling's big in Japan. You know, guys going into Japan this year know that. I don't know if there'll be fans, but if there is going to be fans, like the Tokyo fans are going to be, you know, the refs are probably going to be a little bit biased. If you, it's a different kind of adversity. If you can't deal with that every tournament, then you're always going to be dealing with it every day. Because, you know, I wrestle in Canada once a year, play. So, you know, all my other tournaments, like I just came from Italy and Turkey. So obviously, like the Turkey referees or the Italy referees are going to be a little bit biased towards their athletes. So that's always, I think, in wrestling that I've been used to. But I think it is because it's an amateur sport and we do a lot of traveling overseas. So we see it every day. I think a little bit like in the NBA and stuff, places like that, it seems really foreign because it's only in the United States. Like when I go to South Africa or these countries, like I know like it's gonna happen because it's home court advantage. So I've kind of been used to it, but I think the best way to deal with it is always what can you do better. Like I never try to focus on the referee or what, because yeah, I should have got 4 points, but he still got points on me to beat me. You know, so like what do I got to do to fit? And I just channel my energy that way instead of just being negative and just blaming the referees, because that's not gonna it's not gonna fix the situation.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't be where you are today if you were a sulker and you just thought, oh well.
Yeah, and I believe in karma, man, and I believe in good things, and I think God has a plan. You know, some days it might not go my way, but some days maybe I'm gonna get a call that comes down my way, right? You never know. So I think this, I never think too much of it. I think God's got a plan and just stick with it.
Yeah. So you mentioned the kind of the geography of wrestling. I mean, there's mostly in ex-Soviet countries, like it's quite big, Iran, and North America. But when you go to other countries as a brown person, do you find that you have the same treatment as everybody else, or do you think you're kind of one out of?
No, I think for sure, like it's getting sometimes a little bit better. Like when I started traveling, it was a little worse. Like, you know, always got like secondary screening. And like, I think some people, like a lot of people, I think in the world don't know about Sikhism either. I think a lot of times, like when I go places, I think I'm Arabic or Muslim and stuff. But I kind of like it because like I always wear my kara like wherever I go. And like even this trip, from Canada, there's probably 11 of us, and all of them asked me what it stands for, you know, like, or like, you know, what is that? Is it, you know? And then I had maybe 15 other people ask me, you know, from airport people to just a referee, because I don't take it off. I only take it off right before practice or like day of competition, but like I'll wear it to wins, and you know, and I only take it off when I really got it. So random people ask me like, you know, when I'm checking in at the hotel, and you know, and I love it, man, just because like I get a chance to tell my story, you know, and who we are and everything, and so I think, and then it's been a little, sometimes you get a little bit of racism, but at the same time, like then once you get a chance to tell your story, then people really do like enjoy it, and you know, it kind of gives me a chance to tell my stuff. So, you know, it has its pros and cons, but like racism, I think, is always going to be there. And there's some people that just are like that, but I think people that know Sikhs are always really, really, you know, friendly, and you know, they'll always kind of be like, "Yo, you guys are always doing good stuff." Because I think wherever the Sikh community anywhere in the world, they're always doing seva of some sort, you know. And
it's amazing how you're kind of doing prachar everywhere you go, because they're seeing
Yeah.
They're asking questions about it, so they're learning about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a cool part because they get a chance to learn about it. Like our massage therapist was from Guelph, Canada, and like he sent me an article like this morning. I'm back home, and he sent it. It's like a new Gurdwara just got built, and he's just kind of showing me. And then like and then he kind of knew about it, but he's like, yeah, the Sikhs are always doing really good stuff in my in Guelph. They're during COVID, they were giving back a lot, so it kind of makes me happy too. And then I think it just kind of like, it just, if people don't know, then the rest of the team kind of hears about it, and at the same time, it helps me, and then also like helps people understand everything a little bit about me is better. So I like that about it.
So what's your connection? Because obviously, a lot of people, including myself, they're not as like strict with keeping the kakara on, like the kara and stuff, because I guess they mold to whatever the dress code is of a place or like the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And I work in hospital, so it's kind of similar in hospital. Infection control, they don't want you to wear. But how you must have a strong connection with your faith in order to kind of have that.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I think just like growing up and like, I think just being connected to faith and just just believing in God and all that stuff, and just kind of, I think it's made me who I am today. I think without God, I don't think any of this would have been possible. And I think just like, like I love to read books and stuff about, Sikhism, and just, right now I got like the Gurbani, I got like translated to English. So I'm still on the first book though, but like, I just love reading it just because it refreshes my mind. And also like all the gurus, sacrificing stuff. And like, I always remember that one battle, like Sava Lakh de Barabar is one, and I remember I walked up to that song at Olympic trials too. And like, it always sits with me because I just feel like, we've been warriors since day one. And I just feel like I'm given a mat to do it. But I think it's been in our blood for a long time. And I really do feel like, God's helped me so much. And I think just wearing that kara and stuff and try to give back as much as I can to the community, wherever I can educate someone about Sikhism, and even if I can't educate them, just give back and just help others. And I think that's one of our biggest teachings. And but yeah, I think faith helps me a lot. Just I like to listen to like Shabd every morning, and like I like to do like Kirtan Sola before I go to sleep and stuff. And I think it just like refreshes me. But also I think in sometimes in this world we always rely on other things, like other people, like our siblings or our parents and stuff. But one thing I've noticed is like a lot of people have anxiety of being alone and stuff. But one thing I love doing is just being by myself, because I know God's always with me. But just kind of being in tune with myself and knowing that, even when I'm going on these trips, sometimes like, I'm flying by myself for so long. I like to listen to shouts and stuff and just know God's gonna be with me, and that, this is for a bigger purpose. Like I get to wear this kara and like go and rep all Sikhs across the world. I think of that bigger purpose, and I think like, like end of the day, I think like God's given me so much, so like I want to try to do as much as I can. And being a Sikh, I think that helps the community. I know that it made God proud, so I try to do as much as I can. So that's the way I like to think about it.
It sounds like you're really making the most out of your life, and
yeah, I'm trying, but I think I'm really fortunate too. I think to be in this position where I am, that like I think it's a lot of generations of sacrifice that takes for us to be here. Our parents had to struggle a lot. Our great ancestors, everyone had to struggle for us to be here. So I think it's just, I think I'm grateful, and I think I'm just blessed to be in these shoes to get these opportunities. Like back in the days, we're getting suppressed. We still are, in India. So I think I'm grateful that I'm here in Canada, and I want to make the most of it.
Amazing. And if anyone hasn't checked out your Instagram, they should definitely do that. I'll add a link in the description box. But there's amazing documentary. I love the bit where your dad's saying that you got athlete of the games in Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, Commonwealth. Yeah. That was my first one.
So proud. You look so proud in that video.
Yeah, that was my first ever international tournament. and I was kind of like nervous going into it. And like I remember I wrestled and I beat Pakistan in the finals, and in the finals, and then after that, like we went to McDonald's after me, my dad, and one of my friends, and like my coach is calling me like, "Oh, come back! You got outstanding wrestler of the whole tournament." So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Wow, wow. And it's from my perspective, I'm kind of second generation in the UK, and a lot of my generation, they're not doing as much. So although you give a lot of credit to the previous generation, the hard work they've done, and that's definitely due, I feel like a lot of the generation here now, they've got a house, their parents have got them a house, they're kind of set, they don't really need to work that hard. So no one's done this for you, unfortunately. You've had to practice every day, and you've had to put yourself forward for competition, and you've had to do all the grueling stuff. A credit to you, and a credit, for you keeping your kind of humbleness through it all. It's So you're in Iowa now, right? Like not right now, but in terms of
training.
So how did that come about? Because like Iowa's legendary, isn't it, for wrestling?
Yeah. So I used to train at Fresno State first in California, and the coach was from Iowa. He graduated from Iowa. He's an NCAA champion. So like I used to train under him, and then because of COVID, that program kind of got canceled. And then since then I think whenever a program gets canceled, other coaches start looking around for what athletes were in that program, and they kind of just contacted me, and it was a no-brainer for me because I needed a place to train, and it worked out perfectly, and ever since then I love it. Like you said, it's a mecca for wrestling, and those that know wrestling, Dan Gable and those guys, it fits into my style kind of, because I was always work really hard and kind of grind, and that's what I was known for. So it's pretty cool. And then I truly believe if you've wrestled and you haven't been to Iowa and you haven't been, where like, I don't think you wrestled. That is the place. Like Iowa State University is where Dan Gable went to school. I think it's so cool to like just be like walk in those footsteps, because I think sometimes you're in the journey, you're just so focused and you don't think about it. But that's why I like flying a lot, because like right now I had a flight from Turkey to Vancouver. It was 11 and a half hours. I'm a kind of guy that doesn't watch like movies and stuff. I like a lot of alone time, and I just, for the first couple of hours, I was just sitting there thinking, like, when I started wrestling, this was all a dream. Like Dan Gable was like a something you saw on TV, but now like I've meeting these guys, like, and it was so cool to think when I was just flying, just like how life comes in a full circle, and it just like, and I'm like going to Iowa and stuff. Like the first day I went there, I was kind of nervous, like I don't want to go kind of thing. But now like I always want to go, because now I actually understand, like I'm living my best life. I'm in Iowa State University. Like I'm from a little town here in Canada, and I'm in Iowa State University, one of the biggest places for wrestling in the world.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. I mean, I was looking up the people who have come out of Iowa, and either come out of there or trained there. And I've read Dan Gable's. He's got these 2 books. They're basically memoirs, but he makes it sound like Iowa's like the wrestling is their sport for people from Iowa. The way fans turn out and the infrastructure they've got. So it sounds amazing. Now, how does that compare to like Vancouver? And because in the UK, if you want to learn wrestling, you go to a wrestling class, and they have them in certain cities, and it's kind of pay as you go, and then you compete at regional tournaments, and then you could go to nationals. But it's a very small scale. Like we as a host nation in London 2012, we get automatic entry to all sports, but we didn't enter wrestling because we weren't at the level of you guys, like of the countries. So like what's the infrastructure there in Canada like?
I think it's a little bit better than like what's going on where you guys are, but it's not anywhere near Russia or US or any of these countries. We have like a lot of clubs here, like Indo-Canadian clubs, that have done a lot for the sport. How like right now, like my dad and like so at Mary Prairie Wrestling Club is where I train at. My dad and like a couple other uncles there's like 5, 6, so we have a committee, and we built a nice wrestling club, like 2 mats. Like it's a nice building. So we've done a lot of that, and there's other opponents have as well, for and like in Surrey and like close by me. So we have like 4 or 5 clubs like that. But other than that, there's not much. Otherwise, other people are just training in like schools and stuff across Canada. Same thing. We have like regional, provincial tournaments, and then we have a national championships. But there's not too many people. It's really watered down. They obviously in my weight class, I'm in the middle weight class, so I still obviously get a lot of people. But in our heavyweight and like even 97 kilos, like at the Olympic trials, there were like 6 guys in both weight classes. You know, that's unheard of. You know, you go to the United States, there's people that are like fighting and dying just to make the Olympic trials. So we don't have that kind of competition. And usually, obviously in my weight class, again, like the top 4 or 5 guys are pretty good. But in every other weight class, usually just the first guy's good. Like the gap between the number 1 and 2 is huge. As in Russia and United States, the top 3 guys can all probably be world champions, right? So and stuff like that. So it's not bad. There's a lot of like there's a lot of love for it though, and I think that's good. But I don't know. I think we're in a special time in society because people love a lot of things, but they're missing the hard working part of it. You know, a lot of like I know a lot of people that like to watch wrestling or basketball, you know, or even UFC now. A lot of people like to, you know, meet on Saturday and watch it, but only few are willing to do what it takes to be there. So I think that's kind of what's going on in society right now. I know a lot of guys that are willing to watch and promote wrestling here, but there's not too many kids that are willing to do what it is needed to take wrestling where it needs to be. So hopefully soon, there was like, and I remember growing up, like we had so many up in a club, and right now on the Canadian Olympic team this year, there's only 2 of us. That's the most has ever been.
Wow.
We had one guy go to Olympics in 2012, Arjun Buller. In 20, so I think he was there. And then 2016, we had no one. Now we had 2. So and then we had one guy, Jogi Joe, go in 1996. But since then, there's been like 4 of us. But for how many Apane that have wrestled, like it's not the best number. Like we have a lot of guys that at one year when I was in provincials, there's probably I think maybe 20 weight classes. Yeah, around there. Like we have a lot of weight class provincials, and we had a medalist in every weight class. We had multiple in some.
That's amazing.
So, but that success hasn't carried over to the senior level. But we had a lot of success in the high school. So hopefully that changes and we can grow wrestling here in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, you've done really well considering from the sounds of it. It sounds like a similar kind of system to what we have in the UK. And
yeah.
So that means like training partners for you must have been not as easy as it for people in the US.
Yeah.
And so, you know, regardless of your work ethic, if you haven't got people to train with, or if the system isn't supportive, it's incredible that you've still been able to get to the levels that you're at. It's a credit to you.
Thank you.
So just to mention your weight class, because the average weight for a male in Europe is 75 kgs. So the majority of men who compete in any sport will be around your weight. So the competition level in your weight category is the hardest of any weight category, and that's fairly well accepted. Some of the legends have been in your weight category. So it's just another like feather in your cap for how you are really. I wanted to ask you about a couple of other things as well. What's the hardest thing you've had to do?
I think the hardest thing I had to do was I think just like the process, but I think the hardest thing I had to do was conquer my mind. And I think like and I'm still working on it. I think Guru Nanak Dev Ji said it the best. When you conquer your mind, you conquer the world. And it's been my hardest thing in life. Growing up, I had a lot of things I was scared of, and I'm not afraid to admit that. Like I remember growing up, like when I was like 10, 11, I remember I used to be scared of like I had a nightlight in my room, and I used to be scared of that. Or I was scared of like when my first flight, I was scared to fly by myself. I had a lot of things like that. Or, sometimes you'd be scared when I go on the mat, like, oh, like scared of getting tired, but conquering all my demons is my biggest accomplishment, and I'm not fully there. And I think you really never really fully get there. I think you keep fighting it every day, but I think that is my biggest accomplishment. I think that's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, because like it's easy to sit here and talk to you and just tell you everything that sounds cool, but it's harder to actually implement it. Anyone can go and run 10 kilometers, but can you run 10 kilometers when someone's running right next to you at the same pace as you? And just that is just a different, it's different when you go to Iowa and the room's 30 degrees and resting a 45-minute go, and you work out in the morning and you hit the wall and the guy's right in your face. You're trying to break each other. Those who've been in combat sports know what I'm talking about, is when you're trying to break each other. And, that's when you really learn a lot about yourself. I can tell you, Jasmit Singh Phulka, I can tell you my pros and I can tell you my cons, I can tell you what I'm scared of sometimes. I can tell you what my body's telling me, or, as humans, we're never going to be programmed to chase anything great in life. This morning, I've been up since 5 a.m. My body was telling me to sleep in. You don't need to be up. You just flew, oh, take the day off. You just had 2 weeks. My body's never going to say, wake up and go for a run or go work out. It's never going to tell me that. My body's not going to tell me to have salmon and potatoes and eat healthy tonight. To say, have McDonald's, you deserve it. So I think just that is my biggest thing, because I think I truly have beat that point in my mind, because I don't, I never give into it. I always tell it what I'm going to do it. And I think I love this quote in the Oregon State wrestling room they used to have. He said, the body never commands the mind always commands the body. Like your legs are sore, doesn't mean you don't do nothing. You're going to tell your body. So I think that's kind of like the hardest challenge I had to grow in life, is just fixing and wiring my brain differently. Because it wasn't wired like that. As humans, it's not going to be wired like that. The things I have to do on a regular basis is obviously it doesn't want to do. And the things when you're competing, it's a 6-minute match, so 30 seconds left on the clock, and he gets your leg. How do you react? How it's a game of inches, and your mind is a real big part of it. And I saw a quote yesterday. It's pretty cool. It's like, people aren't afraid of taking the last game shot, the buzzer shot, because not because of the pressure at that moment. They're afraid because what if they actually get it in? Then people are going to start relying on them for things, and that's what people don't understand. Becoming an Olympic champion or becoming like a world level wrestler it's half of the battle, because when you get there, you got to sustain it. I don't think it's impressive being a one-time champ. I think the most impressive thing and the best athletes are the guys that stayed at the top for the longest time, because once you get there, you truly respect that, because it's not easy. It's really hard being at the top of the game. And at 74 kilos, a guy that I actually I haven't had a chance to compete against yet, but it's in my weight class that I have a lot of respect for, and I saw you had a picture with him as well, Jordan Burroughs. You can't, even if we're in the same weight class, you gotta respect the man, because he's been at the top since 2011. He won his first world championships, and this is 2021. That's 10 years at the top of the mountain, and the hardest weight class in the world, through a lot of adversity, in Rio and all that stuff. But to dust yourself off, pick yourself up and climb back up that mountain every year, it's not easy. He's had a lot of reasons to walk away from the sport too, but he's stuck with it. So I think that is like the hardest thing to do in life, is conquer your mind. And I think once you do that, it's really satisfying. And I think you learn a lot about yourself in that journey though, because if I just wrestled until like I was 21 and then, started working 8 to 4, then had kids, and, I would have never learned the things that I've learned about myself. The things I've learned about myself while I was trying to conquer my mind are life lessons I'll never forget, that I can pass on to my kids and I can pass on to the future generation. But I had to take a lot of dark roads to get there. But I think that was one of the hardest things to do, because sometimes when you're doing it, you don't want to do it. You don't want to. You don't want to put yourself there. It's easy to work out. Working out was never hard for me. Going to practice is never hard. But challenging your inner self is the hardest thing. Like, I can go to practice right now, but am I really going to go to practice and put myself where I don't want to go? That is the question I got to ask myself. Put yourself where you don't want to go every single day. And that's when you grow, because when you get at the highest stage in anything in life, either your opponent will take you there or you're going to go there. You know, you're going there regardless. To win Olympic gold medal, you're going to have to go to the dark room. But who's going to open that door? Are you going to open, or is your opponent going to open it? If he opens the door for you, you're going to have to sit, you know, you're not going to win the match. So I think once you start learning that kind of stuff, I think it really changes your perspective in life, and it helps you be more disciplined, and it keeps you more accountable as well. So it all comes in full circle.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. That brings me to the next question related to, like, Los Angeles is the next Olympic Games, right, after Tokyo?
Paris. It's Paris and then Los Angeles.
Okay, so like, how do you train every day, or depending on what your training routine is, knowing that something is so far away? Like, you know, most people can't even do like a 30-day challenge, or even keep his resolution past February. Like, how do you train for something that's 4 years away?
I think it like step by step. Like, I think so we always have tournaments coming up, and then I think of like training blocks, and then I think about like that kind of stuff. And obviously I think about like my parents, my family, my brother, everyone that's kind of sacrificing for me. Then I think about the sacrifices before me. You know, like I lost my grandmother last year, so I always think about that. And then so another thing about me is like I've never met my grandpa, but I've heard of stories of him through my grandma and obviously my dad, and just I always think about like I've always had a special connection with him. But whenever I saw his pictures, I always felt like he's always with me, and I always thought like I always wanted to do something. So when something's 4 years away, I always think like, man, like I want to be able to tell my story one day. Like I always think the more things might be away, but the work starts now, and the more success I get in life on anything I do, the more relevant my grandpa and grandma will always be. And I think once you start understanding stuff like that, I think, you know, then things don't seem too far away, because every day you want to wake up and work out, you want to do something. Because if you lose a loved one, or if they're not with you, or even like, for example, this, like, you know, representing Sikhism, you know, the guru's not, you know, too far from me as long as I'm doing good stuff. Because whatever I do in life, I'm still going to be Sikh. You know, I'm still going to be my grandpa's and grandma's grandson. You know, no one in the world can ever take that away from me. You know, so I really, and I use that because I remember, like, if I want to make my community proud, if I want to make God proud, if I want to make my parents, my grandma, my grandpa, then I need to start putting in work, and I need to do things that are going to put me on a platform, and then it's always going to come back to them. You know what I mean? So that kind of channels me mentally. So that, and then I don't think 3-4 years are too far apart, because the way I'm thinking is like, man, I got a chance to get better, and then stuff comes. So people that I think have trouble with these 30-day challenges and stuff, I think their thinking is too narrow. I think you got to broaden it. Like, you got to remember your purpose and why in life. And my purpose and why is obviously, you know, the community, my family, all of that, you know, my grandpa, my grandma. So like, that's my purpose. And when your purpose is that big, it's really hard to quit on yourself. It's just, yeah.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, thank you. No worries.
I wanted to ask you about, like, I go to one wrestling class a week, and then I'm sore for the rest of the week, and I can't do anything. How do you train with, like, your training intensity? How do you do that and still do strength and conditioning and still do, like?
Yeah, I think like, because I was just always a hard worker growing up. Like, I wasn't the most naturally talented guy, but I always worked hard. Even right now, like when I'm in like a good training block, I'm training like 3 times a day. Like, I have the opposite issue. My issue is like knowing when to back off. I think I just love the feeling of being sore. Like, I'm kind of used to it now, so I just love it. And then I think like, yeah, I think it's like, I don't know, the satisfaction I get from working out, I can't get it anywhere else in life. Like when you hit a PR, when you get, or like that wrestling practice, when you break your opponent, like I'm not gonna get that anywhere else. So I really like that. And then sore, like when I wake up sore, like I did something, you know, I feel good about it, and like I bettered myself, you know. So I like that part of it. Like I bettered myself. Like if I'm not sore, that means I'm not really training hard. But yeah, it's sometimes it gets hard. Like I'm 27 years old. I'm turning 28 in a couple months, and like I have a lot of body aches and like I have a lot of injuries. But that's the nature of the beast. You know, and I always tell people I want to wrestle another 8-9 more years. I'm wrestling until 2028, regardless if I win Olympic gold or how many world titles. That's and people always say, well, you're gonna be like 34. But I like that pressure because growing up, the most an Indo-Canadian wrestled when I was growing up was 26 years old. So I'm 27. I'm in uncharted territory right now. But I like that because it gives a chance for the other generation. And a lot of people used to say that, you know, after 30, it's harder. But I want to do it at 34, 35 at the highest level and tell people that, hey, man, like nothing happens to your body. Your body is a lot stronger than you think. Like when you're sore, you're usually not that sore. Like it all comes back to the same principle, and it's your mind. Your mind will give before anything else gives in life. As long as your mind is strong, I think everything else in life is pretty good. It's when you start thinking you're getting older and stuff, and you know, and that's when people start stop working out, and then you gain some extra weight, and then you start getting other issues. You know, you get some health issues. It all spirals down from the starting of the issue, and that was your mind. So I think as long as you push your mind, and being sore and all that stuff, as long as you just channel it as a positive instead of a negative.
Yeah, so one thing that I've picked up, which is quite unique about you, is you like to be by yourself. Most people I find nowadays, they struggle to even have a moment where it's quiet. They'll have to put the radio on or put something on mix. And even with Jordan Burroughs, like one thing I noticed with him was he used to go quiet before competition week on social media. And then leading up to Rio, he was still posting like the day before. And you know, obviously the comments and all these things coming in, I think you have to be comfortable with being quiet for a bit. Otherwise, I think it's difficult for you to do the kinds of things you've done in terms of the mental training that you've done. But I wanted to talk to you about doping, because that was my area of expertise in the Olympics. I was in charge of doping for wrestling and for judo. And I don't know if you've seen Icarus.
Yeah, I have. So first and foremost, I've always been against anti-doping and always will be. I can't stand guys that dope. Growing up, there's a lot of guys that I grew up with that were doping here, even here in Canada, and it's still, and everyone knows who they are. I'm proud to say that I'm 100% substance free. Like I haven't took any, I'm never doped and I never will. Everything you see is hard work and dedication. And growing up, people used to think like in the uppity community, like, oh, you got to be, even still people think that like you got to be a heavyweight to be successful, in wrestling or anything. And I'm the first ever guy on the national team that's not an heavyweight. And so many kids were like getting forced to eat or even dope just to get up in heavyweight. So I've been dealing with it a lot. And it just shows that doping is short-term success. You want to be a legend, you want longevity in the sport, doping's not the way to go. It's not worth it. Sports was to enhance your quality of life, not the other way around. And some of these people are doing that.
And then in Icarus, they were saying that 99% of Russian athletes.
Yeah, and you know what? I just wrestled. So I don't know if you know who Sedikov is.
Yeah.
So I just wrestled Sedikov in Italy in the finals, and it's cool. Like I'm not sure what he's on or what they're on, but like these I'm known for really good cardio. That's my biggest strength because I train really hard. And 2 minutes in, like this guy, he was coming at me hard and he wasn't getting tired. Either he's got phenomenal shape or there's something going on there. I don't really like to look at it because I know it's just gonna piss me off and kind of thing. But I know a lot across the world, people are doping. Like some days you go on a match, and like I'm an Olympic qualifier, one of them, I did everything right. Like I had the guy's head down. He saw like I asked 4 or 5 different coaches what I should work on. They said you did everything right. That guy was too strong. All my numbers in the gym are extremely good for my weight class for 163 pounds. But sometimes I'm still not strong enough. I do everything. I eat clean. I do everything by the book. And I'm still not strong enough. So sometimes I wonder, like, am I like how strong? Like, how do these guys get that strong? And obviously, then what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, it goes all back to that. Like I think doping is huge, because it's all depends on your natural, like on your national body, and like obviously we get tested a lot, but like in Russia, who's gonna test Sedakov?
Yeah, I mean, what they were saying was that the testing is happening in, like, obviously Lance Armstrong's the most tested athlete in history, and he never tested positive in his whole
Yeah,
career. He actually only got caught because his teammates gave him up, right?
yeah,
So
and like it's easy to like beat the system. I think like even now here, like people know how to beat the system. They start taking steroids in grade 9, grade 10. To stop by like grade 12, and then by the time you start getting tested, like your first, second year in university, it's out of your system. Like
yeah,
like people know like how to cheat the system. Like if you're gonna cheat the system, it's like anything in life. Like if you want to do a robbery, like you're gonna know how to do it. I think if you start looking at the wrong things, it's easy to find a solution. Um, that's just how it is, you know. But
I
I
guess it's
think,
what you're saying about refereeing, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. And
like you can't control the referees, you can't control that.
yeah, I can't control the cheaters and what they're doing.
Yeah, on drugs.
Yeah, and I think, but the thing is, like, I can sit here and talk to you and be completely who I am. You know, I'm not being fake. This is who I am. And I'm not scared to call people out. Like, I know people are doping, and I grew up with people doping my whole life, but that confidence in that I can say it with, and that I don't care what people think, is because I'm not doping. I don't have any insecurities. You know, people that dope have a lot of insecurities. They can't even look, and then deep inside, when they win a medal, they can't look themselves in the mirror. When I medal at tournaments and stuff, I'm super excited. You know, I'm pumped up. Sometimes even if I lose, like I don't care, I'm happy. But it's because I'm know everything I'm doing is hard work and dedication. When you put your best foot forward, you're gonna be happy. You know, and that just it is, and then it goes back to I believe in God, and I believe in everything will happen for a reason. And people that are doping, it's gonna catch them in life one day. You can't cheat God, and people that aren't doping and are working hard every single day, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get your reward, and I promise you that. You might not get it today, you might not get it tomorrow, you might not get it in a couple of years, but you will get it one day. Everyone will get what they deserve one day, and if you're cheating, you'll get what you deserve as well.
That's amazing. I just want to ask you two more questions because I know you have to head up to training as well, and I could
Yeah,
talk
no worries.
which is a problem. One of the questions is around like India, and you know you had Shashil, he did well.
Yeah.
Obviously, the film Dangal, and then you had the
Yeah.
sisters became famous off that. I was there when she was competing, and she couldn't even find anybody to go with the doping station with her. Like her coaches were all around Shashil and Yogeshwar, and
Yeah.
like so. And then she became famous. But like, why is India not up until recently? What, in your opinion, why do you think they're not medaling, given that they do kushti and you know they've been doing all this stuff for a long time? What do you think it is?
I think the reason they started medaling now was because I think they started putting a lot more money into it too. A lot of more things, and I think a lot of medals, a lot of money went into it, and I think they got a lot of foreign coaches recently too in the 2000s. They started getting more coaches from like Russia and stuff. They put a lot of money into it, so like every trip you go to, you see someone from India. Like they were doing every tournament, they were doing camps, they were doing everything. And then I think Sushil was just Sushil's what they needed. The 4 minute mile was never broken until for a long time until someone did it, and everyone started doing it. So I think Sushil opened up all of India's eyes that it's possible. Yeah. And since Sushil, it's been a lot of people doing it. Yeah. So I think he was the one person. I think he did it because he obviously had a lot of funding, a lot of people. He's doing a lot of trips. He had a lot of God-given talent. He had good coaches. There's a lot of good people around him. And I think he was a really good wrestler. And I think he did it. And I think after that, you know, if you work out with Sushil every single day, you eat the same stuff he does, you have the same coaches, you have the same environment, you know, you start thinking, why can't I do this?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So it's like a dominoes effect. So I think that's what's happening in India, which is pretty cool to see right now. It's a dominoes effect, and they're doing really well. But yeah, like, you know, and it's good to see, you know, and I like it because even when I go on trips now, like, because and then people that know that I'm Indian, they'll be like, oh, like Kumar, and like honestly, man, like I think there's a lot of things you can buy in life and like that are artificial. Like I don't think a car or a house or anything means anything, because end of the day, like when no one's left on this planet, like you can get a brand new Lamborghini today, right? In 10 years, who's gonna look at your Lamborghini? Everyone's gonna say it's 10 years old. It's not gonna be worth much. You know, you can build a house today and like in 5 years, there'll be another design. But a name never fades. And I think that is so cool because Shashil's not wrestling today, but someone, when I was in Turkey, someone asked me about him. Someone in Turkey is talking about Shashil Kumar. And I think that is something that never fades. And I think that is so cool, man. And I think that's like the true value of life because like when he's no longer on this world, there's people are still going to talk about him. And I think that is so cool, man. Like, so, you know, just like, you know, Milka Singh just passed away, like the flying Sikh, you know, who doesn't know that?
Yeah.
You know, everyone across the world was touched by that. He's not with us here today anymore, but, you know, my kids are going to know who he is. You know, my kids' will know, you know, and I think that is so cool, man. And I think that is like the purpose of life. Like if you can leave your name in this world, you know, I think that is the biggest thing you can do.
And just to end on that similar positive note, if there's, you know, somebody Indian watching this who, you know, sees you and thinks, yeah, you know, he did it, but I don't know how he did it, and I don't think I could do that. Like, what advice would you give to kind of 12, you know, or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12-year-olds who are
I would say the best advice I could do is chase your dreams. That's all. I had a dream. I was maybe 11 years old when I said I wanted to go to Olympics, and everyone around me laughed. Or everyone that was training with that day laughed and said, maybe one person out of everyone that's wrestling in Canada might go to Olympics. And you know what? I might be that one person soon. So, you know, that dream, just whatever it is, you want to be an astronaut, you want to just whatever it is, just chase your dream. You'll never regret it. You'll never regret the journey or chasing something. I've never met someone saying, man, I woke up every day, I worked so hard, I regret it. I met a lot of people saying, damn, man, I should have listened, or I should have kept wrestling, or I should have kept doing something. Like, you know, when you're young, you think you're missing out on a lot of things. You may think that you want to go to your friend's birthday party. You can be 80 years old and you can meet up with your friends and have a couple of drinks. You can be 80 years old and go to the movies. You can be 50 years old and get married and have kids. You know, there's no age for that. But there's a certain age to chase greatness. And when you're in those years, don't let them go by because they'll never come back. You know, I'm not going to be able to be Jasmit Phulka, the version that I want my whole life. You know, the feeling I get when I put my shoes on and put my singlet off and represent my community in Canada, that feeling's going to be gone one day. But when that feeling's gone and I'm sitting there with my kids one day, I don't want any regrets. So, you know, work hard, chase your dream because it goes by quick. But my best advice to anyone would be, honestly, just work really hard. That's honestly all I did. Believe in God. Just work hard. People will say you get burnt out and stuff. That's all fake. You won't get burned. None of that stuff happens. Just put in there. Just keep working. Kobe Bryant trained 4 times a day. And you know he still had time for his kids and all that stuff, you know. So like there's never, you know, one thing Kobe Bryant said, you know, and then I just want to share at the end is he said he never liked vacations and stuff because you have time for vacations and all that stuff when you're done. You know, you have time for everything. You know, you have time for birthday parties. You have time for everything. But when you're pursuing something, put it all out there because you'll never regret it. You'll thank yourself 10 years down the road.
That's amazing. Well, I just want to thank you so much for your time because I know, you know, time and energy, like, you know, it means a lot when you're at the level you're at. So this is going to help a lot of people. It's going to inspire a lot of people. Lastly, where can people get in touch with you, or how can they follow you, or how can they follow your journey? Where's the best place?
Yeah, I think Instagram, Facebook. Instagram is jphulka74 and then Jasmit Singh Phulka on Facebook. And yeah, and I'm always willing, if anyone needs anything, to reach out. I can always willing to help in any way I can. And lastly, I just want to thank you for everything you're doing for the community and just trying to help the next generation. It's sometimes I feel like, it's easy to say, look at this interview and, be like, oh, this guy's doing so much. But I truly feel like people like you are making a difference. And sometimes you may not notice it, but the stuff you're doing is huge for the community. And even some just getting me on the show and stuff, some days you might have a bad practice or something, and someone like that, reaches out to you, recognizes you. It means a lot, and it makes a difference in my daily struggle as well. And it shows that as a community, we're so strong, and we can only accomplish something together. You can never accomplish much by yourself. So I really feel like as a community, if we all stick together, there's no challenge or barrier that's too big for us. We can overcome anything. Our history shows that. And going forward, I hope our history keeps showing that, and we conquer anything that we want. And one day, I really hope you go to any place in the world, there's a Sikh sitting there, and that has accomplished his dreams. And we've done it across the world. That would be great to see, and I really hope that day comes soon.
That's amazing. All right, let's end on that note.